Hey, this is Corey Barnes.
And this is Lisa Caperton, and you're listening to Her Turn to Talk. Corey, girl, have you watched Cheer on Netflix?
Oh, yeah, all of it.
You did?
Yep.
Isn't it so good?
It's so good.
I was like, actually, Danny started watching it first.
Danny did?
And he was like, I felt like a creeper. I'm like, am I creeping because I'm watching the show? And he was like, but no, it's so good. And didn't you just like feel for those kids? And you're just like holding your breath, like, please don't fall.
Yep.
I mean, they are badass.
Machines.
Yes.
Machines.
I couldn't believe.
I was literally just thinking as I was doing my makeup, thinking about the blonde one.
Yeah.
The one who isolated and like she had some haters.
Yeah. Oh,
and,
the one that kind of
on Twitter, some old. And she used to fight.
Yeah, yeah. And then at the end, she kind of went off on her own. I saw an update that she's back there though, so that's good. I think that's the best place environment. It seems like that she needs to be. What a gift
for all those people. I wish I knew their name. And the little brunette who
Gabby Morgan.
Yeah,
the one that
grew up
she
in
got
the trailer.
left. Yes.
Yeah, abandoned by her dad.
She just had the sweetest
machine.
Yeah, they're amazing. True athletes. Like anybody who says that cheerleading's not a sport or whatever, they don't know what they're talking about.
And I knew who Gabby was from social media.
Oh, I didn't know.
I was like, oh my God.
I was fascinated. And I was also fascinated on just like all the different types of backgrounds that they came from. Yeah. And because
boys,
I think like
the boys.
Yeah, some people you get this stereotype of like they're just rich preppy kids, and that's not true.
No.
They're all from
not
all
for
walks,
the Navarro
all
people.
Walks of life.
I wonder if they get scholarships because
I don't know.
And those gyms, I had no idea the industry behind cheerleading.
Yeah.
And it's a multi-million, it sounds like $1 billion industry, and how secretive it is.
It's crazy.
And that, I know obviously the competition,
it's a whole world.
It's a whole different world. And the special gyms, like there's a gym down the road from us, and I used to nanny for a girl who would go there. She used to be a gymnast, not anymore. Crazy expensive memberships just to even be a member.
Crazy. But man, yeah, you're right. Machines and the things they do to their bodies and just keep going. And it was amazing. I highly recommend. Yeah. Anybody hasn't seen that, go watch Cheer on Netflix.
Love it.
It was awesome.
I want to be a cheerleader. I was like in between running to the bathroom. I'd be like in the mirror.
Go do a little herky on your way.
Okay.
So cheering is kind of all-American thing. My Badass Woman is an all-American, American treasure, if you will. You want to know who it is?
Who is it?
It's Dolly Parton.
Dolly!
And forgive me if Southern accent comes out when I'm doing this, because I've been listening. I listened for a second time to Dolly Parton's America. And this will be part tribute to Dolly and almost part tribute to the freaking amazing podcast. I'm like, everybody needs to go listen to Dolly Parton's America. Jad Abumrad, from Radio Lab. He's the one that did this podcast, and him and his producer, and they just do such a good job. It's like not just about Dolly. It goes into so many topics of history and women's history and about race and culture and so many different things that it goes into and talks about, and you just learn so much, but it's beautifully done. And the way they do it and the sounds, like they take you into these places and there's sounds of things, and you just it gives you all the feels and it feels like you're there. It's just such a good podcast. So I will attribute them because I got a lot of this information from listening to that podcast twice. And also good old Wikipedia and biography.com. So I will do my best to make this as condensed and concise as possible. But if you are interested in knowing more and more about backgrounds, go listen to Dolly Parton's America. All right. So Dolly, she, of course, is from Tennessee, the Smoky Mountains. You know that. I think most people know that, right? She is the fourth child of 12 children in a poor family. They lived in like a one-room cabin, log cabin up in the Smoky Mountains. Right? She's always been a singer, something that she's always done. She once sang like locally for like a news station and stuff in the area. But when she graduated high school, she decided to go off to Nashville, and she was going to do her thing, right? And she got her big break by being cast on the Porter Wagner show. I don't know if you know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay. So she was kind of like the pretty girl singer that they would bring out every now and then, right? And she was a replacement for somebody else. And so she wasn't very well accepted at first because, Dolly didn't look like the typical person. She had the big boobs, the big blonde hair. She was out there. Her voice was much higher than the other girls, and people didn't really receive her well. So they kind of started out doing duets until people started to, be more accepting of her. And then she got kind of doing her own thing. And Porter thought so much of her, he helped get her signed to RCA Records. And back in the beginning, she, what makes her a badass and a trailblazer in many ways is when she first started writing music, she started thinking of like new ideas. So you had these songs from like these old country songs, or even songs like back from the old country, back from England and Scotland, that had come over to Tennessee and to these hills and been adapted. And they would sing about, a lot of them sang about hurting women and sang from this very male point of view. And what she did is flip those songs, and she would sing them about from the woman's point of view, right? And she sung about very controversial things. She wrote about abortion. She wrote about adoption. She wrote a song about having a stillborn baby from an unwed mother. And that particular song, like, they wouldn't play that song on the radio. They wouldn't give her airtime, not because it was like dark and the baby died, but because the woman was unwed, right? Like, these are the times they're talking about. But so she's on the Porter Wagner show. She starts to really get her notoriety.
Is that in the 60s?
No, this is, I guess it was, because she left the Porter Wagner show in 1974. Yeah. And she really, like, that's where she kind of came into her own. She started really like writing. She wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You in one day, in the same day. And the same day, she wrote these songs that are still today sang by everybody else. Everybody knows those songs, right? And what I love is in the Dolly Parton's America, they have a whole episode about Jolene, and they have a whole episode about I Will Always Love You and kind of how these songs came about. But then interviewing like different people and what these songs mean culturally, like what they mean to, someone in the LGBTQ community, and what they mean to somebody in the Middle East. Like, you have people in the Middle East who can relate to these songs and find things in these songs that, that they mean something to them. They don't have to be this woman in Tennessee, obviously they didn't grow up in Tennessee. But I love the story. They talk about how she wrote I Will Always Love You. And her and Porter had they had a big relationship. Like, there were speculations that maybe they had, a little more than friends going on. Who knows, whatever. But bottom line is that he was her mentor. He helped her get started. And then later she started becoming bigger and bigger, and he was falling, right? He was old enough to be her dad. And so he was kind of falling off the radar just as she's like rising, right? And so there's this jealousy, but they have this love, and they kind of started having a riff, and she needed to leave. It was their time to go. And she had like this is what I love about her. She knows how to connect with people on an emotional level. And she knew that she couldn't just go in there and be like, I'm leaving him out, and he would fight her. She wrote I Will Always Love You, and she went in there and sang it to him. And that was her saying goodbye. And she sang that song to him, and he said, well, I guess you can go. Like, what are you going to say to that song? Somebody sing, right? I mean, she's so fucking badass. I just go listen to that podcast, listen to more about that. But she's written over 3,000 songs. So, I mean, I feel like you love people who can write lyrics. Like, Dolly's got that down, right? She knows how to do that.
Falls out of them.
Yeah. And she, I was looked up, and I was like, okay, well, what kind of awards has she won? It's just more awards than I can even count. All the awards, just about, or she's at least been nominated. There are awards that I didn't even know existed. But she's won, the Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless you. The Academy of Country Music Awards. She's won Entertainer of the Year. She's been nominated 43 times and won 11. For the CMTs, she has been nominated 48 times and won 12. She has been nominated twice for an Academy Award, one of those for being the song 9 to 5. She's been nominated for Emmys, Golden Globes, and a Tony. So her work speaks for itself, right? Like, she knows what she's doing. She's been an actress. We know she's been in 9 to 5. She's been in Still Magnolias. She was in a movie called Rhinestone with Sylvester Stallone, many others. And now she's got her own like little show going on Netflix, all kinds of stuff, right? She also... This was something that was a little confusing. I found one thing that says she plays 10 instruments, one says 12, one says 20. Who knows? And even in her interviews, she'll say, "Oh, I can play many things," but she's like, "I don't play them all well, but I can play them all." You know, like. But some of the things, like she can do the guitar. That's what she says she's the best at. Banjo, fiddle, piano, piccolo, auto harp, the pan flute. Like, she is like music, like
Skin
you said.
flute.
Yeah, it like pours out of her skin.
Sorry, that was inappropriate.
So she,
Yeah, she is a musical genius.
She is. And I think, with Dolly, she relates to so many people, like I said. And the thing about her is that she does not. She will not talk religion, and she will not talk politics. She stays out of that altogether. And she's been able to really straddle that line between... the liberals and the conservatives and all of that. She is from the South, and that is a part of her fan base. And she knows that. And she's real tricky about what she says. And she's able to like be in the middle and still have everybody love her. She's a very smart businesswoman. In fact, she's so smart and so good that even when she first started out and started making music, she knew that she needed to maintain the rights of her own music. So she owns all her own music. Like, she was like, that was important to me. I knew that that's what I needed to do. She's very, very business smart woman. And she's very witty, and she's so quick, like, in all of her interviews. And she says that she uses humor a lot. She knows that, people are going to say things and she'll one up them. That's part of her charm.
Does she have any children?
She does not.
Is she married?
She is married, but she also, Miley Cyrus is her goddaughter. So there's that. But she it is one of the things that she does come out and say is she is a supporter, for LGBTQ community. And so, because that also, like, she'll have somebody, super, conservative at her concert, and then there'll be a drag queen at her concert, or they say in there, like, she's got lesbians holding hands with the conservative church woman. Like, they all come together, and everybody can put their differences away and just be there and listen to Dolly. Like, she can bring all of those communities together, and that's really something special that does not happen very often these days, for sure, anymore. But she will speak out to that she does support gay rights, which I absolutely love about her. And I'm getting all excited here. But so in addition to Dolly just being a general badass, she also gives back, right? So she makes lots of different donations all around to different charities, different hospitals. But she has her own little foundation, or I shouldn't say literal, her own foundation called the Dollywood Foundation that supports literacy. And it's called Dolly's Imagination Library, which she donates more than 10 million books to children annually. So it's something that's very important to her, to make sure that every child has access to being able to read. And so Dolly also has, of course, her own damn theme park named after her. I mean,
we will go one day.
You have to be badass to have your own. I mean, other than Mickey Mouse, who else has their own theme park?
Dollywood. Welcome to Dollywood.
So, I mean, she's got Dollywood, for crying out loud, which is Dollywood is about 3 or 4 hours from Nashville. And so then Dolly also, we know she has a great character. She never wants to hurt anybody. She's always very kind. And what I think draws me to her is when I listen to her, she has this great ability to, she just has this great empathy and compassion. And she really knows how to look at things from someone else's point of view. So even when people question her about the strife with Porter Wagner and other people, she'll be like, and they'll maybe start talking trash about that other person. And she's like, no. You know, I saw where they were coming from. They were coming from this place or that place. Like she doesn't trash anybody. You know, she's very understanding about where and really tries to see where other people are coming from, which I think is like just amazing. And I love her so much for doing that. And then we all know how Dolly looks. You know, she's got big boots, got big blonde hair. She's not afraid to talk about her plastic surgery. She just puts it all out there. And like I said, a lot of people that will tell jokes about it and she'll beat them to the punch. Or if they tell a joke, then she'll one-up it. That's like her MO. And she has been known to, you know, she says, hey, look, I've got these big boobs. I put them out there. I know people are going to talk about them, you know, so why would I get offended by that? She has just that quick wit about her. And she's not afraid and to say those things. And I think there was something I was reading about her and it said, well, if it's, you know, sagging or dragging, I'm going to have it sucked or plucked or whatever I need to do. Like she's, you know, that's what she does. One of my favorite quotes about her that she has said is, you'll never do a whole lot unless you're brave enough to try. And I just love that quote from Dolly. So that is, you know, like, I don't know.
I love looking at the old pictures of her.
She's beautiful.
She's always been beautiful.
And that's the thing.
She's what, 70?
She's actually, her birthday's January 18th, and I believe she'll be 74. But she's just like unapologetically herself. She's not afraid to be herself. She doesn't give a damn what people think. No. She does what makes her happy. And she just works so hard on everything, and she's so smart, like so busy, you know, and she'll make jokes about how people think she's just some dumb blonde, but she's not, you know, she is anything but. And so I don't know, her ability to have the empathy that she has to see where people comes from, it amazes me. And so those are the reasons why I think Dolly Parton is a badass, and I think that everybody else should think she's a badass, and I think everybody else, it should be mandatory for everybody to go listen to that podcast so everybody else can know she's a badass. And it's not like they come at it from all different points of view, and later on in later episodes you hear that she's not perfect and she makes mistakes and she does her best to fix them, or you know, and that's human, right? We're all just human. So that's my badass woman, is Dolly. And so speaking of women who own the way they look and put themselves out there, they own their brains, they own their self-worth. You know, we have another woman that we have interviewed that taught us a lot about that too. It taught us a lot about caring for our bodies, you know, and not being afraid of saying like, this is what I've done to get where I'm at, you know, and talking to someone who has come a long way and worked really, really hard in life to get a very successful business, a business that you have supported as well. And just a smart, interesting, beautiful on inside and out woman. And so we're going to interview with her and learn all about mommy makeovers, all about hair, and just all about being a mom and being a businesswoman, being an entrepreneur. So let's see what Amanda has to teach us today.
Welcome, Amanda. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming.
I'm
so thrilled.
I'm so thrilled.
This is really great. I found Amanda on Instagram. She has a wonderful Instagram, and she was engaging and beautiful, and I found her interesting right away. I think I must have looked up like hashtags Boulder or Broomfield or something like that, and I was just looking for women who had, you know, cool Instagrams, and you were if not the first one, you were like the first 5 that I found.
Oh,
And I was
that's
like,
great.
I have to have her on. And you answered immediately. And I was like, I can't wait to talk with her
Oh,
because
well,
you
I
have so
can't-
many interesting things.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I can't wait. I'm so excited to be here.
Would you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. So my name is Amanda Shields. I live locally here in Broomfield. I have 2 young kids. I have a 1 and a just turned 5 as of Wednesday-year-old boy, 2
Aw.
boys. So I'm
Boy
severely
mom.
outnumbered in my house.
Me
We even
too.
have a male dog. So
Oh, I
yeah,
have a girl dog. I was
Oh,
like, we
I'm-
have to have a girl dog.
I'm gonna move in with you guys. That's yeah. I just am excited to be here and like be chatting with women who, love supporting other women, and we're all in this together. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you own your own business.
I do.
Would you
I
tell us about
own,
that?
Yes, I own Wild Root Salon, also located in Broomfield. So I just love this whole like northwest, kind of suburb area. And we have been open almost 4 years. So we're celebrating, just tons of growth. We are an Aveda salon. We also carry Kerastase and a couple of other small lines. And yeah, we are full service hair. So we really specialize in just, kind of luxury, high end hair services, color, cut, everything. We even do some facial waxing. We just got a great group. People oftentimes compliment us on just how welcome they feel when they come to the salon, which I have to say, like, I love that we're successful, but that alone is such a huge compliment in what I feel like is success in a business. So it's a fun culture. You kind of get to know everybody when you're in there. So we're just celebrating the fact we've made it 4 years, and
Absolutely.
yeah, it's great. So yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
That's a big deal to have a salon that is successful.
It really is. I think I read some quote or some article in the beginning that over 70% of salons close in their first year, but over 80 close in their 3rd year.
Wow.
So, it was like making it past that 3rd year was even
Wow,
a
I
huge
didn't know
success for us. So, yeah. So we feel super fortunate to be successful.
You're doing something right.
That's right. That's right.
awesome. Well, before we started chatting, we were talking about bladders. And you know what? Let's bring it back because that was
bring
a
it back.
great conversation.
Let's bring it back.
So how did that get started? I guess Lisa-
I just said, "Oh, do you have to go to the bathroom before the podcast starts?" And
Yes.
she's like, "No." And I was saying this morning, I was talking to my kids about peeing. I don't remember why, but my son was like, "Oh, I only pee." Oh, because he said he never pees at school. I'm like, "What do you mean you never pee at school?"
It's like a whole day.
I know. And he's like, "Well, I only pee in the morning, and I pee at like when I take a shower, and I pee at bed." And I'm like, "That's only 3 times. Like that's all I pee." I'm like, "I pee that many times like before 9 a.m.
Yes.
Like seriously." And so then we had this whole conversation of like, do men pee less than women? And your soon-to-be husband just told us that he only pees about that many
Yeah,
times
he's
a
like,
day.
yeah, 3. That's about right.
he doesn't
I'm
drink
like,
enough water.
It doesn't make any sense. No.
Maybe that's it. Maybe we're just really successful water drinkers. But also, like I said, I read recently that women's bladders are a quarter of the size of men's. And I'm going to stand by that because
We're
it
gonna
makes
have
me
to
feel better about
research
the fact
this.
that I spend a lot of time in the bathroom.
Well, but why should we be shamed because we have to pee a lot?
You're right.
Because
it does feel shameful.
Right. And my kids, they make fun of me in my house, and my husband will tease me about how often I have to
Pee
pee.
shaming.
Yes.
Right.
Pee
Hashtag-
shaming.
And like, don't pee shame me.
Don't pee shame me. And do men get nervous pee like we get nervous pee? That's how
I
it
don't
started.
know.
I was like, I don't know if I just have to nervous pee or if this is
Right.
real pee. When I used to I did a triathlon once with some girlfriends, and they told me like 3 times before, you don't really have to pee. Well, I did, but I was like,
Right.
they're right. It's nervous
you-
pee, but I really had to
Don't
pee.
you hate it when people? I've had my husband. He's told me that you just went. There's no way you have to. I'm like, do you want to come see? Do you want me to bring it out? Because I'm telling you, there's more.
There's
Like,
more.
It's coming.
I can always make more. Yeah.
Right. I can pee onto me.
It's just another resume builder. I can always
There
pee
you
more.
go.
Yeah.
Exactly. And well, and part of it for me, I'm like, we talked about having kids,
Yeah.
and that just makes you, I think, can kind of mess things up sometimes. And then I had to have surgery after having children, and so I have like a
Yes.
whole sling, and so I know that had to mess up my bladder, and
Of
and
course.
so, and you know what, like the men just they don't know. I guess they get payback. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's a horrible thing to say, not payback. But I guess men who can empathize with us are men with prostate problems. Maybe then they
They
can
might be able to
understand.
relate.
Oh,
yeah.
You're
Yes.
right.
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
very possible.
I don't know.
Now, Amanda, back to you again.
Oh, back to me.
Girl, you look damn good.
Well, thank you.
You look
Thank you very
23.
much. Oh my gosh.
So good.
Thank you. I will take it. I work with a lot of 23-year-olds, and it makes me realize that 36 is 13 years older than that. And it's, these girls are babes, and it's not their fault. They're 23, I'm like, man, I gotta it's great motivation to work with young, beautiful women all the time.
And you look so good.
Well, thank you.
And would you tell us a little about your mommy makeover
Sure.
and what you do
Yes.
to just stay up looking fresh and
Oh my gosh. Yes.
taking care of yourself?
Well, it's a routine, man. I tell you what. And I've just realized kind of the whole you get what you pay for in skincare and hair care and everything. I really, probably in my late 20s, early 30s, finally kind of invested in all of that. So that's kind of where it started. And, I kind of just take advice from other people who have the look that I want. I don't want to look 19. I want to look good for my age. And so when I see women all day, every day, anywhere between 9 and 15 every single day in my own chair. And I'm always taking advice from them, like the ones who they don't look overdone. They don't look like they're trying to be someone they're not or too young. They just look fresh and like they have slept in the last 5 years. So, I do. I use Oliveda skincare. I love that. And then, of course, I love a little Botox here and there. And then, to your point, in October, I got a mommy makeover. So, I will tell you what, just like your bladder, kids do some crazy things to your body. Like there is nothing cuter than a baby bump, and there is nothing less cute than a postpartum body. Right off the bat, you're kind of like, man, I thought I was big before. This is like, it was definitely a lesson in self-love for me to just be like, my body did an amazing thing 2 times, and I'm super proud of that. But at the same time, I always want to be in support of other women who want to do things that make them feel good. And for me, this was something that was like, you know what? I'm young. I have the rest of my life ahead of me. I work hard. So last year, I guess probably near this time, around February 1st, I was like, some of this baby weight is from my 5-year-old. So I lost 25 pounds between February 1st and August 1st. Very slowly, which I know is the way to do it.
Yeah.
But man, it can be discouraging when you're in it and you're losing a pound a week. And I mean, the great news is I've kept it off and then some. But anyways, so in October, I got a mommy makeover. And for me, what that entailed was a tummy tuck, which I also had the highest grade of diastasis recti, which is like the separation of your abs that never goes back together after children. And mine was like, you could fit like 2.5 finger knuckles in between there. So not only was my core strength like non-existent, but the appearance was not great either. So it was kind of one of those things where they were like, well, we're in here fixing this. You may as well just get a tummy tuck. And then I had a breast lift as well, and like a tiny bit of lipo on my love handles. They kind of highlight like the mom parts that they basically tell you, no matter how hard you work out, this is going to be there. So you can choose, do you want to do lipo or whatever. So I did choose to do that on one area. So it has been, the results were above and beyond my expectation. For how crazy and vain this sounds, I was more worried about going under the knife and taking all this time off work and away from my family and then having the results just be okay than I was about like dying on the table. It's modern day technology and medicine. I know that it's not dangerous, but I was worried, like, what if I do all of this and spend this money that I've saved and it's not everything I thought it would be? But it's amazing. I mean, just an instant confidence booster. I couldn't believe how much like even other people saw that in me. And like, just like you said, even I had clients saying like, you look just even younger and refreshed. And I think it's just because of the way I feel about myself now. I did so much and then I had a little help, and it's okay to get a little help sometimes when you need it. So,
well, and I know, like, I have 2 boys too. So I know what that does. And
You
in
do.
fact, Corey and I were just talking about, things that happen to your breasts, and particularly your nipples
Yes.
with
Oh.
breastfeeding and pumping. I was
Yes.
telling Corey, I'm like, I didn't know that. Nobody told me that
No.
until afterwards, and my nipples took on a whole new shape and of like beak from that whole sucking in the pumping tube for
Yeah.
a year or whatever.
It's gonna happen.
And eventually I was like, I think they're like pretty normal now, but it took a while, and it's very like jerking to you, because you're
is.
like, what is, you look one way and then all of a sudden you look some other way.
Yep.
And I think for me, I thought after having my boys, I was I'm a smaller person just in general, and I thought, and I did not eat that well, I will admit, like having I like just didn't think, I thought, oh, I'd be fine, I'll just have this baby and I'll go back to that same
Right.
and that did not happen.
Yeah.
And then I had another baby. I think, how old are your boys?
So they're 1 and 5,
So-
almost 2 and 5, so
okay.
3 years apart.
Okay, mine are 17 months apart. So
Oh,
it's like boom,
Lord.
boom. And so
That
I
makes me weak in the
especially like
knees.
after the second one, I was a lot larger, and
Mhm.
it took me a long time. But it's like this whole shock to your system of like, and that feeling of like, am I gonna be me again?
100%.
You know?
100%. You're absolutely right. And I was the same way. I even envisioned myself, like when people would say, "What'd you do to get back to your pre-baby body?" Just being like, I don't know, I just bounced back. Yeah. But the furthest thing from that. I mean, I'd never struggled with weight in my entire life. And so it was real eye-opening, and it teaches you a whole new level of empathy for other people who, whether it's postpartum or just at any point in their life, struggle with their weight.
Right.
It's very daunting to look at that number on the scale and realize I have 30 pounds to lose.
Right.
Right.
Well, and even like thinking, oh, before I got pregnant, I was this size.
Yes.
And now here I am, and I'm wearing like 4 sizes
Oh.
larger. And, it took me a long time, to get rid of weight. And I still have a little pooch that, like
Of
you said, it's probably
course.
not going to go away. I still
Yep.
have the stretch marks. My nipples are not completely normal. You know what?
Of course.
I put 2, like when you're using the sports bras in your pad, I double
Yeah.
them up.
Yep. So no one else is exposed to that. I know. Yep.
And so it's like, it's not all back to normal, but it takes a
Right.
long time. And my question I have for you is that that do you or were you worried about talking about pee shaming and different types of shaming, about getting shamed for getting plastic surgery?
100%. I have been shamed since. I knew it was going to
You have
happen.
been?
Yeah. I knew it was going to happen. I even had shaming in advance. I literally had people say to me, "Can't you just lose more weight?" And I had to just understand that not everyone understands exactly what I'm going to do, and that's okay. So, yes, I was really worried about it. And again, especially since I do see so many people every single day. I have my in-laws are very conservative people. I was, of course, really worried about that. I've never told them, but someday they may find out. And I didn't want people to think either, she's one of those people who gets plastic surgery, or that's how many thousands of dollars that could have gone into her children's college fund. I mean, it was a kind of a variety of things that I was worried about getting shamed about. But again, then I started thinking about things that other people do that aren't things that I would do, and I don't shame them for it. So I thought, get over yourself. Not everyone's thinking about what you're doing, and they probably don't really care. And in fact, I've had the complete opposite happen to me. I've had people who have said, I've always thought about doing that. Or I've had people tell me that they were about to get one, and I've been able to say, just so you know, I did the same thing only 2.5 months ago, and you're going to do great, all the way to people, finding the Instagram page that I did that kind of highlights my journey. I don't share that publicly with like my friends and family, but people have found me on it and said, "Can we meet for coffee and talk? I want you to walk me through this. Wow, your story gives me motivation that like plastic surgery isn't just for these like elite models. It's everyday people who should be able to do it, and it is affordable and it is attainable. And if that is something that you want to do to make yourself feel good, it's not even a need thing. It's a want thing,
Right.
then you should absolutely always do it." So yeah, of course I was worried about the shaming, but I had to think about the amount of, people that would actually be impacted in a good way from me sharing my story. And kind of with anything, you're going to get through to a couple people who think, wow, I'm going to do that. Like, look at that confidence. I want that too. Or look how quickly she healed from that. It's not this, I didn't live in a hospital for 6 weeks. I was back to work 2 weeks later. So yeah.
You're so real and you're so genuine, and it just shined through on your Instagram.
Well, thank you.
And like, again, something I was drawn towards you. I admire the vulnerability. I admire the realness. I admire, look what I did, and I feel good. And they did a nice job.
They did a nice job.
Like,
Dr. Vath is where it's at.
I know. I'm like, I kind of want to know her.
I know.
And I was I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this gives me permission to like, I could get plastic surgery and feel good. And something happened like in my brain, and I got so excited for you, and I wanted to know you, but something happened to me too. And what an amazing thing just by finding you like that, and as you just described. And when we started talking, I want to quote what you wrote to me, and you wrote, I really want to end the stigma about plastic surgery. And just like you said, I want women to do whatever makes them feel best, whether it's makeup, surgery, or living in their favorite black yoga pants, and not feel like they have to justify their decisions. I'm not a feminist, but fuck yeah. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. I've been going to Sephora. Like, I started doing my makeup. I got lashes on
you
today.
Look good.
Like, this is not,
I noticed right when I walked in how pretty your makeup looked.
I've been wanting to do this, and like, it's little glimmers of you. It's little glimmers of other women, and just supporting one another. I'm like, I'm gonna take care of myself. I want to do what I want to do.
Absolutely.
And I just,
when did it? Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, when did it become such a crime for us to take care of ourselves?
I know.
And to be judged by it. And I would rather someone say like, oh, does she always have makeup on, than like, oh my God, does she always look homeless? Because on the weekends I do. But I'd rather have people say that, you're absolutely right. This is one thing you found that you're like, I've been wanting to do this. Why not now? Mm-hmm. Why not me?
Yeah.
And you're right. The stigma is just, I have had people say exactly what you said. You changed my mind about plastic surgery. And you're right. And actually, tell me more about how bad your recovery on your boobs was, because my boobs are what need the most help, or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had a lot of people say that. So I'm happy that what I'm doing is working, even if it's for 5 people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like women are getting there's so many different types of shaming, right? And Corey and I couldn't, like, we're very opposite. And the fact, like what she was just saying, like, I'm not very good at, I don't know, being a girl. Like, I don't do makeup. I don't do you're probably looking at my hair thinking, oh shit.
No, and you have literally the most beautiful skin. So I would never put makeup on that if I had your skin either.
I mean, I have a little powder on. That's about it. But I like, you know what I mean? I'm just not good at doing those things. But I look at other people that are really good at doing their makeup and really good at doing their hair, and I admire that, and I think it's beautiful, and I think, oh, that's wonderful. For me, I'm just like, I don't know. It seems like work, and so I just don't do it. Like, it doesn't bring me joy, but it brings your joy.
Yeah.
And so then I'm supportive of that, and like, yes, rock on. Like, and I can admire that, and I can admire the beauty in that. And
that does not make you less or more than a woman.
Exactly.
Because makeup is men are doing makeup now, like wild. You know,
it's just,
so you are very much a woman. You are very much a girl.
Right. Well, there's already. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's so many different types of women, and like I shouldn't be shamed for not wanting to do my, not getting my hair cut every once a year, or whatever the things, and you shouldn't, nobody else should be shamed for doing their makeup all the time, or doing this or doing that, and just like in the media, you have people like Lizzo getting body shamed for, supporting her, and people who support her, and people have come out and talked bad about her.
Yep.
Then you have people on the opposite end. Now people, you had Adele getting shamed because she lost weight. It's like, can we never make anybody happy?
You are so right. And I think that's what we have to realize. People are always going to have something to say about you, whichever decision you make, if you are okay with being 30 pounds overweight and you're happy, there's going to be somebody who thinks, well, that's not healthy, and she's not setting a good example for her children. If you are so focused on being healthy and working out, people are going to say, gosh, why can't she just relax a little bit? So you're right. You have to do what works for you, knowing that no matter what it is, someone's going to have a problem with it.
Right.
And that doesn't,
you're going to
affect
inspire
you.
someone.
That's
and
right.
That's the thing. Is that's like, that's what I admire about you, is like, yes, like, it doesn't matter. There are going to be haters or people are
Yes.
shamers and all of that. They're always going to be there.
Yeah.
But then you're always going to have the people who need to hear what you have to say too.
You're absolutely right.
And you're being true to yourself.
yes.
In the most like beautiful, natural, like not appealing, just the most genuine way. Like,
right. Well,
and then I'm
you're-
like, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because to your point, the whole true to yourself thing, all I did for the first 5 years after having kids was compare myself to other women and how they bounce back. And, even though I have this Instagram page and I'm sitting here in a podcast talking about it, it's not like I have a sign on my station that said, the reason I was gone for 2 weeks is because I had plastic surgery. But I've had a couple of moms who I've heard the same comparison and feeling down about themselves in their voice say to me, gosh, you look so good. I can't tell you like how much how did you get to that? I would never stand there and let somebody feel that way without saying, hey, I want you to know something. I worked my ass off, but also I had plastic surgery. And I have been on the other side of that where, I felt like we're not outward with what we're going through or what we've done to get to where we are. Or, instead of people saying like, thank you, I worked really freaking hard and this was really hard. And I once was in your position too. And so I feel like that's a whole nother reason. I don't want women to look at me and be like, how did she bounce back? Like with a lot of stitches and some incisions and a lot of drugs.
Right.
So, I feel like that's a whole new thing today with women that I'm like falling in love with more and more is that vulnerability is cool and being honest and sharing your story is cool and it can only help other people. And we live in this age where social media is a platform for that. Back in the 50s, no woman would ever tell a bunch of people that she had a miscarriage or that she had was having problems with her husband. And now it's okay to like say like, hey, is anybody else 7 years in and going nuts? Because this is hard. And, we're at this point where we can do that. And so why not do that if it's going to help other people?
Yeah.
Did so you said your response when you get a compliment is thank you, I worked really hard.
Yes.
Did someone tell you that or did you just come up with that on your own?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Because that's the best thing that you could ever say.
Yeah. I think I just came up with it on my own. I mean, as women, we're bad at accepting compliments.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like, here I am again, like worrying about being judged. But I feel like when I just say thank you, it's like a hair flip, I know. But it's not. It's a truly thank you for that. Like, thank you for noticing. And so I guess I think I just added that on as probably like a mask to not sound full of myself, but also to remind people like, shit, this was hard.
Yeah.
You
And to
know?
remind yourself.
Yes. And to remind myself, because sometimes you're standing there and you're like, oh, here I am just, it's been since August, 6 months, and things have kind of like evened out weight wise. But when I look back at last February, woof, I'm like, oh, I've come a long way.
Yeah. And it opens up a conversation too.
It does.
Oh, you worked hard? What did you do?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
You're
You're absolutely
And
right.
I have what I like to call my life advisor.
Yes.
And one of the things I've talked about with her is that I've had trouble accepting compliments.
Right.
And, she said, Corey, I want you to practice saying thank you. I've worked hard on that. I recently lost quite a bit of weight myself. It was like
Congrats.
30 pounds.
Wow.
A year and a half ago now.
Wow.
And everyone was saying, Corey, you look great. And I loved it,
Yes.
And she said, and I would say, oh, I still have 5 pounds to go. That bullshit.
yes.
She said, Corey, I want you to stop saying it. You say, thank you. I've been working real hard. And then people say, well, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
Well, I've been going to yoga. Oh, could I join you? And then I had these people going to yoga with me.
Yes.
Or I'd say, I'm going hiking, Oh, I'd like to go hiking. And so it just blows open the door. And this reminder, and I love that I haven't heard anybody else say that
See,
before.
we were meant to meet.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I really believe with this whole podcast and stuff,
Yes.
it's been fun finding just women that we don't know. And
Yeah.
that kind of like the universe is just drawing us towards.
Right.
There's a reason why you're sitting here in my living room.
I
you
agree.
know?
I
And,
agree.
I love what you've been talking about. You're not originally from Colorado, are you?
No. So I grew up in central Iowa, just right outside of Des Moines. Lived there almost my whole life. I've been here though for 13, 14 years. So it feels like home. And I could never leave. I mean, I think Colorado is impossible to beat. I love it here. So yeah, I grew up in central Iowa, which again, total different acceptance of things like this there as well. I just think, you know, Colorado is a little more open to people just doing what they want to do and living how they want to live. And, but yeah, I loved growing up in Iowa. In fact, Des Moines has turned into a really cool city. If it was the way it was now when I lived there, I probably wouldn't have left. It's really turned into a cool city. But again, I'm so thankful that I came out here, followed my brother out here. He's 3 years older than me. He lives like 5 miles from us. So yeah, I am happy that got me out here because I love it here.
Did you go to beauty school out here or back in Iowa?
I went to beauty school in Iowa. I went to a school called PCI. It's no longer called that. They do have an Aveda Institute there now, but they didn't when I was there. So yeah, I was 19.
Was it competitive? What was it like?
It was. So I actually, this is so crazy. For what a small little town I went to beauty school in, it was very competitive, which has been great for me in my career because it really taught me that early on. I mean, the difference between beauty school and college is, of course, lots of knowledge, but it's not like practice. You're not practicing your job in college. Beauty school is basically just practice. You know, you work on the public all day, every day, and you're kind of just doing all the things you need to do in the salon in a protected setting. So ours was very competitive. And, you know, for my first time ever in my entire life, I was constantly at the top of my class. I was ahead of schedule. I was, you know, thriving, and again, just graduated early, graduated top of my class. And, you know, once you find that thing that's really for you, but it was great. And some of my like most healthy competition friends in beauty school, I still keep in contact with. So all these years later, we're scattered all over the country, and even one of my friends is in Australia. But it was great. And that also taught me to be competitive in the career environment, you know, and how to create that for the girls to have that healthy competition with each other to help feed each other's, you know, hunger and grow their careers. So, yeah.
Have you ever had any mishaps that people are in?
Have I? You know,
I often want
knock
like
on
I
wood.
would be like, oh my gosh, like,
Yes.
because you know I could only imagine like people must, you know, get really, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure get really upset about,
Yes,
you know.
you are absolutely
or
right.
maybe they ask for something and you give them what they ask for, and then they decide they don't like
that
it.
happens too.
I'm
that
sure
happens
that happens
too. You just nailed it. I mean, there was 2 things that go terribly wrong in the salon: a bad mistake from the stylist, or like you said, and I've been guilty of it. Somebody shows you a picture of exactly what they want, and you do that exact thing, and then they hate it on themselves.
Right.
And again, I've done it. I mean, trust me, I've tried to be blonde. It was my choice. It was a bad choice, but it was my choice. But it's hard to see that when you're the client, and that's not something you can say to them. But, you know, of course, all you can do is just do whatever you can to make it right. But I have had some mishaps. They've luckily been very few and far between, and it's been quite a while.
Right, you've been doing this a while now.
Although I will say some of my biggest mishaps, the clients have reacted the best. And a lot of times it's because they've either been a long-time client and it was kind of like a fluke thing, or they're just mellow people. I've gotten super lucky, or I've cut one person in my life and it just happened to be my brother. So I was thankful that it was him of all people. I've never lived it down, but at least it was just my brother. But yes, I've had some mishaps. In fact, one of my, you know, I think I've been doing her hair 12 years. We learned a new technique and I tried it on her, and let's just say it didn't turn out. And she was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to throw a hat on, go pick up my kids from school, and I'll be back in like a couple hours. Do you mind just fixing it? And I was like, that's it. You know, it couldn't have happened to a better person.
Yeah, a blessing.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Are you therapists also?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm usually the first person to know when someone's leaving their husband or having an affair or, you know, yeah, I do. I hear it all. But actually, I love that part. And it tends to like heighten during the holidays. So people are coming in like, my family's crazy. I'm going nuts. My kids are spoiled, you know, whatever it is. And it's kind of a fun way to jokingly commiserate. Like, we're all in this together. And I love hearing about your family plans and your crazy families. And we're all the same, you know, we're all going through the same thing. So yeah.
There's something about like nurses, beauticians, hairdressers.
Yes.
I always think, gosh, they got a heart of gold because you work with humans
Yes.
all day long.
Yep.
I'm very fortunate. I have a business. I only work with animals,
Oh.
and rarely do I have to communicate with the humans.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, I love that. I went to
Yes.
nursing school. It was not for me.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
But I love doing this, right?
Right.
But there's something about like you have this special talent that you can you do your job,
Yeah.
but you can also connect with whoever's in your chair.
100%. I mean, every day, literally halfway through the day, I'll like stop and pause and think, oh my gosh, I'm at work. I'm like laughing and talking my way through the day. And like you said, connecting. And some of my clients, I knew them before they were married, before they had kids. I've watched their whole life change for,
Wow.
the better. And I literally socialize my way through the day. And yes, I am working very hard during it. And, but I do feel so lucky. And I think about, I'm not a morning person. I do a lot in the mornings, but it's because I force myself. And I think it's hard for us all to get out of bed in the morning, but to at least find something that you love enough that when you show up there every day, then at least you're happy. I can't imagine how much harder it would be to get up and going in the morning and then also spend my whole day miserable. But you're right, to your point. I mean, working with the public has its challenges. The nice thing is the difference between like myself and a nurse or a dentist is we touch people all day long, but we're one of the only like positive touches, so dentists have contact with people, but it is, no bueno. We are kind of in this like very small group of people who get to touch people and connect with people in that way every day, but in a very positive way. So I just always remember that. Like some of these, sometimes you'll hug someone and you can tell they haven't had a hug in a very long time. Or, they'll look at themselves and feel so good and you can just tell that they haven't felt that good in a very long time. So
that must be really fulfilling.
It really is.
Help somebody feel better about themselves.
Yes. You're right. For a long time, I felt like I wasn't doing enough. Like I'm just a hairdresser. Shouldn't I go like save the world or something? And I kind of just like I had one client actually write me a note one day because I told her I was contemplating nursing school. I was like, I gotta help people's lives more. I feel like I'm here to do more than just make them look pretty. And I was like, I need to make a difference in people's lives. And that day when she walked up to the front desk and paid her bill, she left me a note that said, you may not be a nurse and you may not be, giving medications and injections, but I needed to feel good today. And that's exactly what you gave me. And I decided to, shift my thinking. And like, I have this platform to make these women feel amazing, make them feel good about themselves, make them feel like they have a safe place to come and talk or hang out or stop in and say hi while their husbands are watching football for 9 hours. So I kind of shifted that to like, I am making a difference in these people's lives. And then like we talked about, I have a platform to be able to share these things, weight loss, whatever is working, commiserate with like how the hard things we're going through with our kids or whatever, they just never feel alone when they're there. So
your salon sounds so much more than a salon.
I think it is
love
for
that.
a lot of people.
I grew up. There's this woman, Dottie. She's still there.
Dottie.
Dottie, you there?
Dottie.
She's in Peabody, Massachusetts. And that's what it was like.
Yes.
And I just loved going in there.
Yep.
And I actually, we're still connected on Instagram.
I love that.
But I haven't found a place like that ever since. And it's so like warming and inviting.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, like I said,
You're
I'm
making
like,
me think of Dolly and Steel Magnolias.
Oh, yes. we can be the modern day Steel Magnolias.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know a place that's probably a lot like Dottie's, so you just swing on in.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love that. And I love what you said, your enthusiasm, and this idea, like the quote of, choose a profession that you're passionate and that you're in love with, and you
Yes.
never have to work a day in your life.
100%.
What a cool thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I can see it just the way you're glowing. And this happens in that seat,
It's
know?
a magic chair. Yes.
And I just love what you're saying.
Well, you're like, it's another way where a lot of like, I love listening to people talk about what they're passionate about because you're right. You see it in their body language and their face and everything. Like one of my favorite things to do is once I see that and people start just asking a lot of questions about them, and about what they're talking about, because it is so like infectious to be around someone who feels so much passion and joy for what they're doing. So much so that some people will almost convince me to change careers. I'm like, wow. It happened at Whole Foods the other night. I was like at the seafood counter and this guy was just talking about how he like recently quit his job to go full time there because he was so happy and he was so passionate about making sure people knew where their food was sourced from. And I'm like, A, he's so passionate. B, he's socializing. This is like my jam. I was like, I think I need to work at Whole Foods. So yeah, I definitely love engaging that way. And it did not come easy to me. And I, we talked about this in my questions, but I did not have much support going to beauty school.
To ask you about that. Yeah.
you know, just to put it really all out there, when I made the decision, it was not well received from anybody in my family, um, to the point where, you know, I I knew I had to push through, but it made me even question it. But at that point I had enrolled in school, kind of without telling anybody because I knew how it was going to go down.
Were they just afraid you weren't going to make money, or?
I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. I think that there is again, even still, I mean, that was almost 20 years ago now, but even still, I think there's a big stigma of like these mom pop shops that do like roller sets all day, or these places with all this turnover, or like the Great Clips of the world, which I am not knocking because we have had stylists who've come from there and their training is amazing. So yeah, I think that was it. I mean, people, and the way it appeared on paper, which is kind of a big thing in the Midwest, is that I was a college dropout, and that was something that my dad just couldn't swallow.
Were your family academics?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's what's
they
so
just
interesting.
really wanted you to be.
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, I think there had been like one college graduate in the whole family, and she went like later in life after kids. And so that's what was so shocking. And maybe, you know, as a parent, I start to wonder, do we do these things because we want more for them than what we did? Or, you know,
Are we trying to live through them somehow?
or were you trying to live through them? Yeah. So it was hard. I was just basically completely cut off in every way. I was 19, so I'm not complaining. You know, I was an adult, but it was really hard. None of my family like came up and got their hair done while I was in school. It wasn't like, let us help you through this process, you know, at least in that way. It was really hard. And then even, you know, I worked 2 jobs. I worked in a child care facility from like 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., went to school all day, got off work, went to the salon that was right across the street and worked for a couple hours to close. And I still was constantly making decisions between like food and gas. You know, it was rough. It was really rough. I got myself into, you know, a bad situation financially. But, you know, the only reason I even feel the need to share that is just because I think people forget that even after you go through that, you can still, you know, push through and move into a career that you really love. I'm just glad that I am not sitting in an office somewhere, because who knows what I would have done if I would have gone to college, because I wasn't passionate about anything. I mean, I think I'd probably be in a completely different place in my life career-wise if I had gone to college.
Right. And who knows if you would be as happy as you are, right?
Yeah. You're
Well,
right.
that's like, I mean, how brave to follow your passion when everybody else is pulling against it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah, I had a lot of people just make it very clear to me that they felt like it was like a fallback, you know, and I did. I struggled through high school. You know, I wasn't accepted to top colleges. It wasn't like, oh, how dare you turn down this Purdue scholarship? You know, it was kind of just, you go to college and that's what you do. That's where you meet your husband. How are you going to meet your husband if you don't go to college? I mean, truly, it's a Midwest mentality. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I love everything about Iowa, but it's just very different. And, you know, I took a very different path, choosing to focus on my career and get married, you know, later in life for the Midwest again. But I wouldn't be where I was without that. So
What do you think it was that carried you along that said, I'm not listening to them, I'm going to do what I want?
that's a great question. I think just the fact that I was so happy doing what I was doing.
Yeah, you knew.
Yeah, I think that just knowing that when you spend 10 hours of your day somewhere every single day, that needs to be something that you love. No matter how much you love your life outside of that, if you're miserable for those 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, you're going to be miserable in the rest of your life as well. It's going to show through to some people, and probably the people who you love the most, which isn't that sad that that's what we do. And I didn't want to suffer, and I didn't want other people to have to suffer along with me. And I think I just wanted to kind of say, like, watch me, you know, like, okay, you want to think I'm going to be a college and a beauty school dropout? Let me just actually show you how different it can be, you know? And I have dreams and I'm going to chase them. And if other people don't have the courage to chase their dreams, that is okay. Or if they don't have the drive or the desire to, they want to just leave it a dream. It's okay to have just some things be left as dreams, but this was not going to be one of those things for me.
And I like that. Even
Yeah.
for our listeners, right? Just do it.
Just do it.
You
I
know?
mean, just keep going until you're there. Just keep going, you
And
know?
there'll be days where, like you just said, there's going to be days where you're not motivated.
Yes.
Just hang in there.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty inspirational.
Absolutely.
Like Lisa said, to not have that support. And I just remembered my mom said, don't be a nurse. You do not want to be a nurse. She was a nurse.
No
So
way.
she would say, it's horrible, horrible. And she would say, you should go to beauty school because I loved doing makeup back then.
Oh my gosh.
And I loved doing my hair. And I mean, I didn't. It wasn't something that I thought. But now I still like, I always love.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, I love hairdressers. I want to be a hairdresser.
Well, I want a second career.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, just
oh my
keep that
God,
in
you never
mind.
But like you just said, when you start talking about something, you start
Yes.
oh, I'm going to switch careers.
Yes.
'Cause that's
You're so right.
That's like, exactly what happens with
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Where did you meet your husband?
Oh, so my husband and I, so two of our really good friends started dating right after I moved to Colorado. He was still in Iowa.
You moved here solo.
I moved here solo.
On a whim?
On a
you wanted
whim.
to see
I
your
was like, I want to
brother?
be close to my brother. Yep. I wanted to get into teaching within the industry. So
Were you in Aveda yet?
I was. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And so the Aveda Institute Denver had just opened.
Oh, awesome.
So they hired me, which is hilarious because again, I had done all these phone interviews, and when I showed up for my first interview, they were like, "I pictured you blonde and with pigtails." I was like, "I think that's a compliment. Thanks." But anyways, so thank God
Because
for
you were from Des Moines?
Yeah,
They
I
kind of like
wasn't
have overalls on. or something?
exactly. I was like, "Let me just tell you a little bit about Des Moines. I did not grow up on a farm."
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, my brother, I vacationed out here a lot to visit my brother. We got closer like in our adult life, when we were both into our careers, and it was very interesting. So I was visiting him, and he taught me to ski, and we did all these things together. And finally one day I was kind of like, I could just live here. I mean, it's fun to vacation here, but clearly people are having fun living here too. So yeah, I made that decision, moved out here to be closer to him. And then, fast forward a couple years, I had gone back a few times, and there are pictures of us in the same places, at the same parties, at these people's houses. Even still to this day, we'll pull out, like, I to put on a shirt the other day from this event that I volunteered at, and he was like, hang on, I'll be right back. He had the same shirt, same event, same beer tent. So we were in the same place at the same time a lot. Sometimes we remember seeing each other, other times we don't. And then at their wedding, we were both in their wedding, and that's kind of how we, got to know each other just a little bit more. And then about 3 years later, I was in Wyoming at Cheyenne Frontier Days. My girlfriends and I go every year.
Awesome.
And one of my friends, thank goodness, forgot her ID. So we were pulling like college style, licking our hand and putting our stamp onto her hand. And thank goodness we were stopped and distracted. And they were kind of like, this guy over there's looking at you, but he's kind of cute. So normally that's creepy, but you should look over. And I look over, and it's Aaron. It's this now my husband. And I'm like, oh, well, he's staring at me because I know him. I'll be right back. I mean, we're in Cheyenne in a beer tent. And I'm having this like Iowa, Colorado, Wyoming confusion. I'm like, where are we? Why are you here? Why am I here? So he was like, Amber. And I was like, no, but that's okay because I don't remember your name at all. So our friends are both pulling us in the other direction. I kind of totally forgot until the next day when my phone rang, and it was my friend Channing who had introduced us. And I knew it. The second I saw her phone number calling, I was like, this is about Aaron. So she was like, well, Aaron called Adam and wants your phone number. And so, yeah, the rest is history. I mean, our first date was, I had no idea it was a date. I thought he just wanted friends in Colorado. He had also moved out here to follow his brother. So his brother had moved to Fort Collins, years back. And he claims he had told me that he wanted to move to Colorado. But I didn't remember that. So my friend was kind of like, I can't believe I haven't thought to introduce you guys. So yeah, there were 9 months later we were engaged, and 5 months after that we were married. So
Oh, that's so
I
sweet.
love that story.
and it was it was totally a timing thing. We both,
Yeah.
when we met at that wedding, neither of us were in a place to date each other. So it was good that, whatever, we kind of did our own things that night and were able to reconnect later in life when it was a better time.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. And now his parents are out here. So we have a majority of our
nice.
family out here. His brother's here, my brother's here, his parents are here. So it's great. We get to, spend a lot of time with the family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful family.
Oh, thank you.
Can I ask, where did you stay over Christmas? It looked beautiful in that pool.
Oh my
Was it
gosh.
here?
The Gaylord. Yes, out by the
Oh.
airport. I should actually do PR for them.
It's
and
out
here's
by
a
the
great platform.
airport?
out by the airport. It's only about a year old. So last year for Wilder's birthday, my oldest son, we did his birthday party out there. They've got a huge indoor pool and hot tub with 2
Oh.
massive slides, a huge outdoor pool and hot tub, and then a big lazy river outdoors as well. But it's brand new, and the rooms and everything, the decor is so modern. You know, you walk through there and you're like, who's this artist? I want this in my house. You know, you don't
Yeah.
say that about hotels very often. And it's, you know, they really cater to everybody, kids, families, everything. So it's beautiful all the time. But at Christmas, it's truly amazing. They have lots of extra stuff, lots of,
cool.
you know, there's ice skating, tubing. There's a Cirque show out there during Christmas.
What?
So
Wow.
it's like basically its own little town just right there in the hotel.
Yeah.
So I think that was like our 4th stay since they've opened. It's just a great little staycation for anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, I should
You should hit them up and be
the-
like, hey,
totally.
spokesperson.
Yeah.
the girls at
sponsor
work
me.
are always like, oh, is she talking about the Gaylord again? Here we go. Here we go. Next, she's going to tell you about her favorite Spanx leggings, and then she'll talk about that for an hour.
I want that
I-
info, actually.
Yeah.
I just
Worth
learned
every
recently
penny.
that Spanx made leggings. Our friend Amanda was telling me, and I was like, what? And then I'm like getting online and looking
Yes.
at all their leggings.
Worth every penny. The best things ever.
I'm going to have to order a pair
Yes.
and try them out.
I got a wedding coming,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, there
I've
you
been
go.
thinking I need special undergarments.
Always.
Oh.
Always.
Not to kill our mood,
Yes.
but I do want to ask you a little bit about this.
Yeah.
Because I know other people out there will be able to relate, and that's kind of the whole point of like
Sure.
doing on this. And you lost your mom at a really young age.
I did.
And what I mean, at a very important age for a
yeah.
young woman at 16.
Yes.
You said.
Yeah. So my mom was diagnosed with leukemia.
Mm.
And, you know, with cancer, it's just one of those things that it always affects somebody else, right? It's never going to affect you.
Right.
And it's like Lifetime movie stuff where like the teenager girl's mom dies. It's never going to happen to you. So everything happened very quickly. And I think that my brother and I were both at such pivotal points in our life that people really wanted to shelter us. So it felt like it happened extra quickly because we felt like things were improving. And then, you know, we get a phone call. We had gotten a couple phone calls in the middle of the night. Like, I think you need to come here. I think this might be it. So, you know, surprisingly on the time that we got the phone call that she, you know, with the time we didn't know, but that she was had already died the whole way there.
Was
My
she,
brother
like,
and I
staying at a hospital.
So
or-
she had been in remission. She had really aggressive chemo, radiation, bone marrow transplant. She was home for about 6 months. And, you know, if you've ever seen what chemo and radiation does to somebody, it's heartbreaking. When she had cancer before she got treatment, she wasn't sick. She didn't have a
Yeah.
single resemblance of a sick person. In fact, we came here for like 2 weeks to Colorado and traveled around. I have so many great memories from that trip. But then she had kind of started to get sick little by little. They were trying some blood transfusion. And essentially, cancer isn't what killed her, but it was actually just complications from the treatment. You know, I mean, it's poison. It is supposed to kill a majority of your body.
Right.
And sometimes it just goes too far. So, you know, things were failing. And in hindsight, it makes perfect sense. You know, when certain parts of your body start to fail, eventually it's going to be your heart. So yeah, it was awful at 16. And I think that, you know, all I could think was like, all she's going to remember me ever as is like this bratty teenager. Because, you know, that was the last thing that she physically saw of me. So, you know, as life goes on, I've started to realize like, oh my gosh, how horrible. You know, my grandmother lost her daughter, and, you know, having kids, you
Right.
know that let's not feel sorry for me for 1 second, because my grandmother lost her daughter. You shouldn't have to bury your children. But even as an adult, you know, the fact that she wasn't there to see me get married, that, you know, she's never met my children, that, you know, every single day I look at them, I'm like, oh my God, nobody loved babies more than my mom. So, you know, even at my baby shower, her sister, you know, kind of said that same thing. Like, no one's more mad that they're not here right now than Jody. So,
Right. Well, and as a mom, do you now know, like, I think about that, and I think about, you know, if something, you know, God forbid, anything were to happen to my children, but if something happened, I would never want them to think, oh, my mom's gonna just remember me as being, this
Right.
brat. Because as a mom, and I'm sure like as a
Yes.
mom, you just look at your kid and like sometimes you're like, oh my God.
Yes.
But you still know that they're just doing exactly what they're supposed to be
You're
doing.
exactly
they're just
right.
being a kid, and that
Yep.
you have unconditional love. And that,
Right.
I hope now that as a mom, that that's how your mom felt
I do.
about you.
I do. And I think that you're exactly right. We all vent to each other about the crazy things our kids do, but then like if you were to ever ask me to explain my child, that wouldn't be something that came up. Or like you said, like I know what to expect out of a 5-year-old and I know that it's normal. And she probably heard a lot worse stories from some of her friends about the way that their kids acted.
Right.
I always say like I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't get into trouble, but I was a brat. Thank goodness I've grown out of that. But you're right. I think like, and I mean, things come up all the time. In fact, I was at dinner with some girlfriends talking about this podcast, and one of my friends was just like, gosh, in those 16 years, she impacted you so much. You're so much like her. She'd be so proud of you. And I think that's what I have to remember is, in my adult life, she's certainly seen that like, okay, she's not that bratty 16-year-old anymore. Because, I do truly believe that she's always around. So, but yeah, it was a really hard time. And, people deal with things totally differently. And, I look back at how I dealt with it and how I coped with it and how hard it was. And that teaches you a lot of lessons too. I had to realize like my mom wouldn't want me to like self-destruct, or she wouldn't want me to use it as a crutch. She would never want me to say like, I can't go to school because I miss my mom, or I can't, go on with life, or I have issues with whatever because my mom died. She would never, ever want me to use that as a crutch. And I try to instill that in other people as well, when they go through that. Like, unfortunately, death is a part of life. And
Right.
I would never want my kids to like self-destruct because I died young,
Yeah.
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 Oh, I'm so sorry that
Oh,
that
thank
happened.
you. Thank you.
You're a rock star.
Yeah. And
Thank
was
you.
how old was your brother?
So he's 3 years older than me.
Okay.
Yep. So he was about to
did that help
graduate.
kind of bring you guys together, or did that kind of, because you hear about things like this happening in families, and either people come together or they might fall apart.
Right. It's interesting. My brother and I have talked later in life. We dealt with it differently. In fact, he kind of feels like he didn't really deal with it at all then. And I think that at the time, yes, that felt like it pulled us apart a little bit, because I'm thinking like, how are you just going on with your life? And, at the time he kind of latched on to his girlfriend's family, and that was heartbreaking for me. Like, but he was seeking what we had with our family, and it was hurting him so much to not have that he just needed it somewhere else. And it was hurting me, and I was doing other things, to, compensate for that. So, later in life, it's brought us closer, and it's kind of funny, we both remember different things. Sometimes I'll tell a story and he'll be like, how do you remember these things? But other times he'll look at a picture and say, that was in Idaho Springs at this pizza store and whatever. So, it's brought us together closer later in life. And I do feel fortunate. To your point, a lot of families fall out of touch. My mom's family is still a very big part of my life. And so, in fact, I think I just, I have an extra special love for them because they, I see my aunt, sometimes it's actually a little crazy. Like I'll hear her in the other room, her laugh or her voice, and it's like, oh my, okay, that's Julie, not my mom. So I love having them, and I feel very fortunate that contact with her family didn't fall apart, because I've seen a lot of situations where it does, and even my dad, still has a relationship with them. So yeah. So my brother and I are closer now than we were then. And yeah, I think we both just dealt with it differently, but we didn't fall apart by any means. Yeah.
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 If anything, you've just blossomed and succeeded into this
Yes.
amazing woman, this
Thank
dignified,
you.
amazing woman who has a business and babies and is like
Gosh.
doing it.
All of it, man. Whose idea was it to do it all at the same time? All at the same time.
Again, just so admirable.
Oh,
just so
well, thank
admirable.
you.
You are something else. You're
Well,
one hell of
thank
a
you.
woman.
I
Like, for
appreciate
real.
that. It doesn't come without its struggles, that's for sure. Sometimes the girls will be like, I can't wait to be in my 30s and have it all together. And I'm just, one of them just said it today, and know what you know. And I just started laughing. I was like,
It's like you never. It's
You
always
never.
the bar goes higher. I just turned
Yes.
40, and so I'm like, well, maybe I'll have my shit together when I'm 50.
Right.
I don't know. Like,
You just
it's
keep
like
setting these
something.
age times. I know.
Right.
I know. But you're right. I mean, 90% of the time I'll forget my kids' snow boots when it's snowing. And 50% of the time I'll forget to sign paychecks before I leave on a Friday. It's like, yeah, you really do the best you can and juggle it the best you can. And luckily, I have a lot of people in my life who are just okay with the best I can. They get
blessing.
it. They're just like, you literally are doing the best you can. And so I feel super fortunate for that.
Totally.
For sure.
Well, I think that
What a
shows.
freaking
right?
blessing.
Yes.
Instead of you're told this isn't enough, you're not doing enough, you need to do more. Fuck.
Yes.
me.
Oh, right.
I would love it if someone would just tell me you're doing your freaking best.
Yeah, you're doing your best. Keep it up.
Maybe
I
that should
think
be
you're
our
doing your
mantra.
best.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Next time, when you
It
see
should.
people tomorrow, at least once a day, tell someone
Yeah,
you're
that's
just
family
doing your
shit.
best.
That's my own baggage.
Oh, we've all got it. We've all got it. I tell you what, family stuff, it is crazy. And it's so hard because from the outside, everybody else's looks so perfect. And I think it makes us get more discouraged about our family stuff. But we've all got it.
Yeah.
We have all got it.
Yeah.
We could all write a book. We could
Oh, yeah.
all tell our stories and they'd all be equally as interesting. And we'd probably all then want our own weird family back. We'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what? My crazy dad does not seem that bad after all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right. You're
Yes.
right. I know.
Yeah.
And we're the only thing we can control really is our attitudes. I
That's
guess,
right.
I mean, this is
very
this is a
true.
prime example right here is that, you got a good
Yes.
attitude.
Yes.
You got a great attitude towards life, towards just everything.
Yeah. And it
That's
makes all the
awesome.
difference in the world. Attitude really, you can put it on as many bumper stickers as you want, but it is everything.
Attitude is gratitude.
Yes. It's so true. All the sayings are true. Yes.
I'm pulling them out today.
Totally.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for having
Yes.
coming on the show,
No, this
having
has
you
been
on
really fun.
our
Yeah.
show.
Thank
It's
you
been
guys
really
so
fun
much
and
for
nice.
having
Yeah.
me.
This was
You guys
super
are
fun.
amazing.
This is
Thank
awesome.
And
you.
every show that I've listened to of your guys' is just better than the last.
I'm
I
so
just
glad.
love them
Thank
all.
you.
Yes.
We're still learning. We're
Yes,
trying.
you're doing great.
And if
You're
people
doing
want to
great.
find you,
yes.
is there anywhere you want to let our listeners know where to find you?
Yes. So,
Or get in touch with you?
So Wild Root Salon. Follow us on Instagram. It's Wild Root Salon Colorado. I would love for you to follow me. My Instagram is A Touch Shields. My maiden name is Touch, just like the word. It's a good one. I don't know why I let go of that one. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll put them on our website too.
Okay,
For people
thank you.
The links on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Check it out.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Amanda.
you.
That's a wrap.
If you have an interesting story, something funny, something sad, something you want the world to know, please email us. We want you to share your experiences with us. We'll take these, we'll collect them, we'll do some episodes sometimes where we'll read them. So if you want to be anonymous, please just let us know. We won't read your name. If you want your name read, then we will. But send us those stories, comments, to info@herturntotalkpodcast.com. And we also ask if you like what you're hearing, please rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you.